Hi, Paul from Contemporary Synth here, and in these videos we go over the technical and artistic capabilities of the Roland Fantom O workstation. Today we're going to talk about a concept that I call a vertical layering, where you can have multiple voices on a single zone depending on how hard you press the keys. If you haven't seen that before, it's going to open your mind. If you have seen it, then maybe I'll show you how to do it on this keyboard, and if you already know that, then maybe I'll just be introducing you to this really cool song that I've picked for today. The song is All Glory Is Yours by Bob Moore. It's a beautiful song. I'm playing it out of the Gather Comprehensive book, but I'll put the link in the description below if you're interested in seeing it for yourself. All right, so I'm looking at an initial scene, and the first thing I want to do is put down some basic chords in a pattern so I can follow along as I build up my zones. I'm going to build up a couple of basic zones and then put some vertical layering on top. So let's go to the sequencer. The first thing I notice is that the song is in 3/4 and the rhythm defaults to 4/4, so I'll make that change. The length of my refrain, and I'm going to do the refrain first. I'll sing the verse and then we'll have all the effects come in on the refrain, is 10 measures long. So I can set that. For my tempo, da 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 da. All right, tempo is going to be around 100. Maybe that's a little fast. I may slow it down later. And I want it to come in on a weight note. So I think I'm good. Let's play it. 1, 2. To you, Lord. Did hear one curious note here, and I think it's that note right there. I can select erase, and that is fixed. The one thing that's missing is the ability to play back the piano roll from the current position. I really wish that were. You can press play and listen to the whole pattern, and you can press shift play and only listen to this zone, but I haven't found a way to play from the currently edited position. So if any of you have friends with Roland, to see if they'll add that as an update. Okay, so I have my first pattern in track 1. Now I'm going to add some percussion in zone 8. First I need to add a kit. So I'll click on drums, and for the sake of learning something different, I'm challenging myself to find a different kit. Now I'm going to be using a kick and a ride cymbal and a gentle crash. And as you go through, the cymbals are where I have found the greatest variation. So I'll go with this standard kit. I didn't have a problem with the first one, but I'm challenging myself to try something different. All right, let's go to the pattern. I'm looking at zone 8, and my beat is going to be 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Notice how if I hit it gently, I get the edge of the cymbal. And if I hit it hard, I get the bell. We'll talk about that later. All right. Weight note, 3/4, quantize. Let's put the quantize a little bit. And my length needs to be up to 10. Ready? 1, 2, da, da, da. I once had a friend who told me my drumming sounded like throwing a set of drums down the stairs. Hopefully this worked out better than that. What I did notice was the very last beat that I wanted to hit was the wrap of the pattern, so we're going to need a last note. We'll put that in later. All right, next let's put in a bass. I'm in channel 7. From the Pachelbel's Canon last time, I really came to like the string bass sound. So let's go into solo strings, and I'll select that contrabass again. Length is 10. I'm in track 7. 1, 2, 3. I noticed something odd with the drums. Let's watch that. Something amiss here. Let's try to move, and we're going to use the arrow keys to get some of these guys down on the downbeat. Make sure I'm looking at the correct one. Make sure I was. Edit. All right, these are the kicks down below, and they should each be on a downbeat. Sure, that's salvageable. Let's just do that one again. Go to the pattern, click on this one, pattern utility, delete, 8, yes. And I'll record it again, and this time exit to get out of the edit, and I'm going to turn the grid off because I'm sure it was the quantization that caused all those problems. It wasn't my playing, of course. Set the length back to 10. And let's go. All right. I think that'll be fine. All right. What do I want to do next? I want to have a string pattern, but I'm going to play the piano on top of all that. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to move this out of channel 1, or out of track 1, put it into track 2, and make that a string part. You do that through the pattern utility, copy it from here, and I will go over to channel 2 and paste it there. And then I'll go back to 1 and delete it from there. 1A, yes. Now I go to my zone view, and I'm going to set zone 2 to be strings. I go to the pattern and play the whole pattern. And I'll put a little bit of release on channel 2. Or a little sustain. Now, in order for all that to play, we need to make that a group. So it only plays once in a song. So let's make that a group. I have to go to grouping for that. Grouping. I'm going to set that to group 1. Rename that to be refrain 1. And now I'll go to group. Notice it defaults to length of 1. So I'll set that to 10. And I'm going to put that in a song by adding it to position 1. Now I need that last beat. And since the instruments are fading out anyway, all I need is the final kick and cymbal. That's just going to be 2 measures, one for the hit and then the rest for the sustain. Wait, no, 3, 4, go. And that's it. Now these patterns all played, but when it goes for real, that's all we'll hear. Let's make that a group. I'm going to make that group 2. I have to do that in grouping. Set, okay, rename, last beat. Okay, go to the song, make song, add. All right, so in my song, I have, hopefully it's 11 measures. Turn on the measures, sure enough. Well, it's 12 because my last piece there was 2 measures long, so that's going to work. I'm going to test it, but before I do, there's one other thing I want to do, and that is launch it with a pedal. Now I have here a plastic spring pedal from an old drum kit that I have, an electric drum kit, and I can go into Scene Edit and change what happens with the pedal. Now up here at the higher end of the register is, well, here's bend up. Let's demonstrate it with using the piano sound. And bend down. But what I'm going to use it for is start stop. All right, what that's going to let me do is play the refrain. That's really powerful when you're playing live. So let's set up my piano sound, and this is what I wanted to spend most of our time talking about, how we're going to do the vertical layering. If I go into the oscillator, you'll see that there's some vertical layering that's already in here. If I go up to the keyboard view in the Pro mode, you'll see that this piano sound has 4 partials. The first 2 partials go from the low C to the high F sharp, and the velocity range is the keyboard velocity at which that partial is activated. So the first partial is activated from volumes 1 through 80, and the second partial is from 81 to 127. That makes more sense when you look at the tone that is selected. The first partial is piano, piano, and the second partial is piano forte. You'll notice that each has a left and a right, and if you watched the Sound for More video on polyphony, you'll see how this quickly propagates and uses up the voices on your keyboard. Partials 3 and 4 start at G6 and go all the way up to the top of the keyboard. And again, a low velocity and high velocity, and they have some slightly different envelope settings that makes them sound different, but it's not a lot. So I'm going to turn those partials off, and you'll notice the keys sound exactly the same, except for up here where there's no sound. All right. This is the other part of this video, and besides just the buttonology on how you make it work, what are the creative things that you do with this capability? So I'm going to experiment by making one of these partials a whoosh sound that can go whoosh as the refrain swells. So how do we build that? The first thing is, let's turn off these other guys so we can hear this partial clearly. This one's going to be the whoosh sound, and it's going to activate on the lower end of the keyboard up to, say, this G. For an E flat chord, I'll hit that G. All right, now the volume, it's not going to start at a low volume. I want this to start when I deliberately press the keys to activate it, which to me happens in the low 80s. And it'll go all the way up to the max volume. So now you can see, because the piano tone is still in there, if I press it softly, nothing, and when I press a little harder, it starts showing up. All right, the next thing I need to do is pick what that sound is going to be. Let's go to the zoom so we can see it more clearly. All right, I have picked a tone in wavebank A, and this is where you need to use your creativity. There's a lot of stuff in there. Harpsichord, organ, guitar harmonics, weird instruments you've never heard of. Where am I going? I'm going up into the 400s. Sousaphone. We're still in the regular instruments. Here are just some waves. That doos. There's something we can do with that, I'm sure. Those are really powerful. Alright, where am I going? I'm going to 463. Bagpipes, steel guitar, thunder, monsoon. Alright, I'm going for monsoon. So here's our gentle whoosh sound. Ready? Not exactly what I had in mind, but that's okay for here. Now we'll go to the rest of the edits and see what we can do. All right, three main components of a synthesized tone: the pitch, whether high or low, the filter on the wah and the form of the sound, and the amplitude, which is the volume. This is kind of atonal, so there's not much I need to do with the pitch. With the filter, I'll back down I'll use the low pass filter and lower it to allow more lower frequencies in. Which will make it feel less harsh. And I'm going to change the amplitude as a function of time to make it swell. All right. Starting to sound more like it. Attack, decay, sustain, and release. ADSR, you'll see that a lot. It would be quite so loud, and I want a little more. All right, and now let's turn these other partials on and see what that does. So if I play softly, I'll get, but when I hit one of the keys harder, now I have to be careful with the sustain pedal. It never goes away. So, but I can be cognizant of that. That's exactly what I wanted. Maybe a little brighter. All right. Interesting. All right, now for my fourth partial, let's go back up to the keyboard. I'm going to put kind of a strings pad feel up here. So this is going to be with the higher keys. Make sure you're editing the one you're thinking about. So this one's going to come in around here, and this is going to go all the way up to the top. Same thing, it'll come in on the higher velocities. And let's pick a tone for that one. It's easier to see in the zoom. I don't need anything on the right. I'll stay mono on this one. And for here, up in the 300s, I found a nice string sound. And similarly, for pitch, I can move it up an octave. All right, I'm okay with the filter. I don't know, let's see what it sounds like. Flatten, make it a little not so harsh sounding when it comes in. And the same thing with the amplitude envelope, just put a bit of swell in there. And maybe a little bit of sustain. All right, not bad. Okay, let's try the song. One other thing I thought I'd put in is put a little bit of pad that'll come in on the refrain to separate it from the verse a little more. For that one, there's all kinds of choices here. I think the one I liked was 68, which was a soft pad, which I don't see now. What was another one I liked too? Was it 162? How does this look? So I can listen to both. From the keyboard, let's make sure that partial 1 and partial 2 are nice and loud. All right, these should both be 15. Somehow I zeroed those out. Let's make those levels a little higher. And maybe move the string part if I hit it harder and then I'm getting on the other pads. All right, the pad sounds nice. I'll turn that on when we get to the refrain. Let me test my pedal again. All right, so in view, let's watch the song. I'm going to turn this on when we get to the refrain. Let's try it. How deep are your riches, your wisdom profound, your knowledge surpasses all we dare imagine. You are God, all glory is yours. To you, O God, all glory be, all glory forever. For you, O God, all glory be, all glory forever. Amen. All right, well, you see, I started the drums a little early, but then I stopped them and then restarted them somewhat on time. It takes a little practice. There's a lot going on here, but it's really fun and it adds a lot to a live performance. I hope this gave you some things to think about, and if it did, please consider subscribing. In the next workshop, I'll do verse 2. I'm going to add some low instruments to be the vocal harmony, and then when I get back to the refrain, I'll do a vocal sample to be a harmony, and as I sing that too. There's a lot to experiment with here, and I look forward to sharing it with you as I figure it out. See you next time.